going on? I'm Cashew, and it's no secret that Borderlands 4 will happen at some point. Gearbox and 2K like to keep new releases close to their chests, and only really reveal them when the release date is sooner rather than later, like how the BL3 reveal went. Or not. So with BL4 in the nearest future, I thought it'd be cool to talk about what I would like to see in the game. Okay, so most people after playing Borderlands 3 had the same sentiment that the gameplay was good, but the story just kinda sucked. The story is most people's huge if with the Borderlands series at the moment. I mean, you had Borderlands 3, which was a step down from every other game's story.
Except maybe for one.
Then you had New Tales from the Borderlands, which decided now that the writing was in the lowest point in the franchise's history, it was now the best time to create a sequel to beloved story-only game, Tales from the Borderlands, except instead of having an actual story, write it as an interactive sitcom with unlikable characters. After it being out for this long, I still can't even believe it exists. And finally, now that the writing is in an even worse point in the franchise, hey yo, let's make a movie! Which I'm sure won't go wrong in any way whatsoever. So basically, Borderlands 4 needs to be a massive step up from these. Having a story that stays away from tropes, maybe have the villain not be a CEO of a weapons manufacturer, because they've done that to death at this point. Most fans, me included, want to see the Eridian war that was teased at the end of Borderlands the pre-sequel, but it'd be kinda awkward with the whole, like, we need all the Vault Hunters we can get, and BL3 killed like a crap ton of them for no reason. Rip my, how they turned her into a book, man, oh my god! On that note, something that Borderlands 3 really didn't deliver on in the main campaign were the returning Vault Hunters. I kept waiting for my BL2 the band is back together moment from the last game, but instead some showed up and most didn't. But to be honest, I don't know if we should bring back the Vault Hunters from BL3 to get a moment like that, since they all feel pretty bland outside of Zane. Amara has to return because she's a siren, so that's the thing, but unless they have a personal stake in the story, I can't see Mose or Flack having that big of an impact. Also, every character that died should stay dead. I don't want any more Lilith, alright? No more Lilith. Just keep her as the moon, it's fine. Yeah, all this to say, make story good. This next one's kinda huge. All, if not most legendary, should have a dedicated drop source at launch. I don't know what's been going on with Gearbox at the moment, but they just keep forgetting to do this bit. Like, it was a problem in the pre-sequel and we were all like, well, they messed up, but at least they know not to do it again. Then they did it again in BL3 and had to fix it later, and we were like, oh, well, you know, these guys didn't really work on the pre-sequel, so now they know not to do it again. Then they did it again in Wonderlands and we were all like,
Can't do this anymore.
what the fuck? So with any luck, they'll get it right the first time for BL4. We need new hub world. What we end up getting will have to depend on how the story turns out. Like, in Borderlands 3, the hub world is a spaceship known as Sanctuary 3, which is how you get to the other planets in that game, as well as acting as your hub world at the same time. Cool idea, but the design of the ship is so annoying. It takes ages to get anywhere, especially the run from the bridge shot of the ship to the drop pod, which they make you do so many times. If the hub has to be a ship again, may I introduce Sanctuary 3 to the third Sanctuary, baby? You know, like a much longer design that has different vendors on the side while also having access to the lower floors. Or they could just make it a town like the first 3 games, I'm just saying. BL4 also needs more returning cast members into the main team. Obviously, we can't have the main group too bloated, but having Brick, Morty, and Tina shoved to the side for the whole B-team thing never really felt that cool. My ideal cast, obviously, probably wouldn't include Ava, Tannis, or Amara, but since they're all sirens now, we can't really not have them. Bringing back maybe 1 or 2 BL2 characters to be in the main team could help change the pace. My vote would be for Sour Accident, as I like their dialogue and arms race together. Even though them doing arms race to begin with makes zero sense, but whatever. And why not bring in Timmy to the main Sanctuary team now that he's been free from the Handsome Jackbot? I feel like that could be good. So I think to avoid the cast getting bloated, we should cut some of the supporting casts that don't really do anything. Maybe think of like Law, Clay, and any characters that got ruined by BL3's writing, like Vaughn, which gives the opportunity to give older cast members more side quests like Moxie, Marcus, or Zed. You better be in this game, come on, man! And now for the last thing today. Anointments. I want them gone! Anointments to me were a really frustrating way to make your farm for gear in BL3 take way longer than it needed to be, and I think it should be replaced by maybe the old part system from earlier Borderlands games, or something else entirely. Because remember, at launch of BL3 there was no anointment reroll machine, nor was there a way to farm every bit of gear from a dedicated source. So it just kinda sucked, and even when they did bring in the anointment reroll, it costed way too much Eridian. Like it was the answer to Eridian being useless after endgame, like how BL2 also did something like this with Dexy. Best boss in the franchise, baby! So in short, I don't want any anointments to return, but if they do, rerolling needs to be available from the get-go, be affordable, and there has to be anointments that I actually want to use. And that were my top 5 things I think Borderlands 4 needs. Let me know in the comments what you think it needs, and if you agree with what I had to say. If you want to see more of these lists, like and sub and all that, and I'll fucking see you next time!